Good afternoon, folks. Here I am again, doing a rework or remake on one of my favorite models, having to do with World War II armor. Even though this particular tank, known as the Tiger I, main battle tank used by the German forces, they were my country's enemy and the enemy of the Allies some years ago. Still, I've always marveled over the way these machines, the marvel of how they perform, the power, and they proved to be, this particular tank proved to be a very veritable, volatile, very challenging weapon against Allied forces. And it took quite a while for them to be able to figure out a way to beat it. But I won't get any more about the military history. I want to talk about how the way in which so far it's being built. It's all wood except for steel. That's a real gun, by the way, representing the real 88 millimeter main gun on the real Tiger I. This is equal to about 70 caliber or 20 millimeter. And I emulated the tracks and everything best I can. Now, what I like to show you today is the airbrush technique that I use to give it even more realistic representation of airbrush, doing military airbrushing or military camo. And oftentimes they used airbrush to accomplish this thing. Even the American and British, Canadian and French and English forces used this sort of technique with their armor. This represents winter camouflage that was during the winter months fought in the fields of Europe, particularly during the Battle of the Bulge from 1944. Going into the close of 1944 and into 1945, leading to Hitler's surrender. Okay, now I'm going to show you what I have here, and I've had this for several years. I ordered this airbrush system called the Badger Anthem number 155-2, made in the USA. And I'll show you what we have here. I wish I had somebody else to be able to film this, because it's really hard for just one person to try to show all of this and do it with any degree of effectiveness. Well, anyway, this right here is the instrument that I used to accomplish these patterns on my tank. And here it is. Let's see if I can demonstrate. Now right here is a protective cover that can be taken off, and it's got a fine little needle that's covered in there to put this protects this helmet, or cover protects it from being bent or damaged. You don't want that to happen, because the paint, when you spray, will not do right. It'll go everywhere except where you intended for it to go. And there's the trigger. What you do is you just regulate the speed by how far down you push the trigger, and then pull it back really easy. The farther back you pull it, the faster it goes. So, and you have to be really careful when you spray them, because if you're not, if you go too fast on it, you're not going to achieve this desired effect. It's going to go places where you didn't intend for it to go. Anyway, and here is the cup that goes inside here, and it holds the paint. Now when you use, I use acrylic paint. I never do use the oil-based stuff, because the thinner that you run through can damage in no time flat. It can end up damaging the integrity of your rubber washers, and if you lose those things, you're not going to achieve anything. So I try to use only water-based acrylic or enamel. So this so far is how it is and what I do. It's been a while since I've used my airbrush. I've usually tried to do this sort of effect by just doing regular brush dabbing, but that cannot be anywhere near achieved to this without using airbrush. So any of you fellow modelers out there would like to have never used airbrush, this is the way I've done it, and I'd like to be able to continue doing this in the future. More pieces that I build. By the way, this gun, this main gun, 70 caliber, 20 millimeter, is a real firing gun. I can fire it. This gun, this tank, can fire this main gun. And one of these days, when I get everything all set up, I'm going to give a demonstration. I'll do a video showing it fire. I just wish I could figure a way to do the actual realistic breech loading firing of the real tank. But right now I have to rely on using just filling a hole down in here, a vent hole, and then touch off the powder, which, boom. So right now it has to be muzzle loaded. That's the unrealistic aspect of this particular gun, because later on, breech loading firing was the way things were done. Thanks for listening.